Welcome back to Here's the Thing. We have a brand new show for you guys. We were talking about reviews, we've done awards coverage and stuff like that. And we just want an outlet to talk about news, to talk about breaking news, festivals, releases, what's going on in the industry. And we didn't really have a space to talk about that. So we decided to launch a new show here called Here's the News. Me and Ari are probably going to be the regular hosts for it, but we all have people coming in throughout the cast of our show, guests who are more inclined to cover certain stories. But me and Ari are going to be your regular hosts here. And you know me from the show. My name is Tristan. I'm on some of the reviews. I'm on the awards roundtable, that kind of stuff. But I am joined by my co-host. He's been a new addition to the channel, but he's been a great addition to the channel, I feel. And that's Ari. Welcome back, Ari. Are you excited to talk news here on Here's the Thing?
Yeah, I am. I'm really excited, and we have quite a few big things to talk about. One thing that just broke today that I'm very interested to talk about. I can't wait to get your takes on some certain things we haven't talked about. That Call of Duty story, though, that's going to be interesting to talk about. Who could direct that?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You were the one who really wanted to do this news show. You've been pushing us for like months to do a news show. So I'm really excited to finally cave to your will and do this news show. So hopefully we can live up to your guys' expectations. I know there's a lot of news shows out there on YouTube. So hopefully we can give you something that you're not getting from the other shows. We're not just going to necessarily cover Marvel and Star Wars. We're going to try to cover all kinds of news, So if you want to get stuff just beyond just the surface level franchises, hopefully we can give that to you guys here. So let us know in the comments what you thought of the first episode. We don't, it's our first time doing this, so we're going to have a lot of hiccups, but let us know what you thought and what we can do to improve. But with that, we'll talk about our very first story here. The breaking news that I teased earlier is regarding Jordan Peele. Now, Jordan Peele has a new movie he's producing coming out in a couple of weeks called Him, but we are all really anticipating was going to be his follow-up to Nope, his fourth feature film, which was originally due for release, I believe,
Christmas 2024.
Christmas 2024. It had a big delay due to the strikes, which is out of his control. And then now it was all seeming like set to go. He was talking about in recent interviews how he was really like ready to go on this movie, ready to go on the script, ready to go on the story. And then now we're getting news today that not only is it delayed, but it's removed from the calendar. There's not a new date yet. There probably will be, but as of now, the movie has been delayed indefinitely. So, Ari, how are you feeling right now about the status of this movie with Jordan Peele? Do you think he just has a lot going on in terms of producing and that kind of stuff, or do you think this might just not be ready to go yet? Is a story having problems or anything like that?
I don't think that this is necessarily. I don't think we should panic. I think it might be upsetting to hear this at first glance. It's upsetting. Is this, funnily enough, if it does come on 2027, it'll be the same as the Batman Part 2, 5-year gap and same year. At first glance, you're like, oh, panic. I think really he's probably just needs more time because he did say in an interview a year or two ago that he's like, if I get this right, this could be my favorite movie. And so I think he just needs more time. Maybe he needs more time putting the cast together, putting the story together. And yeah, that article, we don't really know anything other than it was just pulled from the release calendar. Yeah, I don't see any reason to alarm. It is disappointing, but at the same time, I'd rather get a truly great Jordan Peele movie than just get one that's pretty good or great, but maybe it's not as it could have been. Like, maybe he's in his perfectionist phase where he really wants to make a movie that is truly great.
Yeah, I think especially after everyone loved Get Out. It was like a universally acclaimed movie, Oscar nominations, money out the ass, and the next two were well received, but they were not huge critical hits. They were not, as acclaimed even remotely as Get Out. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure here, especially after Nope, which I think really divided people and us as well. But I think he's in a spot now where he's going to have to define what his career looks like, what his style looks like, what his movies look like. And I could definitely see it even being like a movie critic scenario where he was kind of just working on the script and he was like, it's just not cracking. I don't want to rush to get this out in time. So there's a reality where this movie just doesn't happen. Like maybe he just goes in a different direction and comes up with something totally different.
Yeah, maybe he makes a different movie. Yeah, I think though there's no way like he would like just not make another movie or leave Universal. Like even if this movie were to not happen, he'd come up with something else. He'd make a different movie.
Yeah, because he's not directing anything. He's producing movies, but that's not like a super active role.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like from him. So he's probably was working on this, and something ended up not coming together with it. Whether it was just timing or whether it was creative. I hope we get news soon on an actual release date, because that's what makes me scared. When it's just delayed, it's just gone. Like it wasn't like, oh, it's actually next Halloween. It's just gone, right? And that's when I start to wonder if maybe this thing is just not happening. But I really hope that there will be a fourth film, but I wonder if this fourth film just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if maybe there's a small possibility that he decided he like wanted to try something different, like not do another horror movie, like try some sort of like weird comedy, like maybe go the Ari Aster route where he made a movie that is pretty different from his other films. Yeah, I don't know, but it's disappointing, but I wouldn't raise the alarms quite yet.
I don't think it's panic mode time. He said here, I have the quote you were bringing up earlier. He said it was on Conan O'Brien's podcast in 2024. He said, I do feel like my next project is clear to me, and I'm psyched that I have another film that, could be my favorite movie if I make it right. It tells me that it's still very much in the idea phase. He's not casting. He's not like doing any of that yet, but he sounded confident in it, but he also sounded like there was a good amount of pressure. If I make it right, that sounds like he's still pretty nervous about it. And that was a year ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if some level of nerves got to Jordan Peele here, but I hope it comes to fruition. I hope this project sees the light of day, because he's 3 for 3 with, I think, bangers. So if he can knock out this last one of the 4, like that's a real good run for me.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts for you on the Jordan Peele news, or do you want to move along?
No, I think that is my final thoughts. I'm not really concerned. It is upsetting, but I don't think it's time to raise the alarms yet.
No, and yeah, like I said, for me at least, he's 3 for 3. I know that's not the case for everyone necessarily. Those last 2 are kind of divisive. So I think if you're somewhat out on the Jordan Peele train, you might be seeing this and like jumping for joy or something, but I hope not. Let's move on to a story that I'm a little more into, I think, than you are, which is Paramount's Call of Duty news. Call of Duty Paramount just recently went through this big purchase, and people were kind of wondering what are they going to be doing with this new flux of income, right? What are they going to be doing to show themselves in Hollywood as a force to be reckoned with? And here's one of the next of many steps, right? And Call of Duty is a huge, huge brand in the gaming space, and Paramount, along with Microsoft and Activision, they're all going to be working together to produce a Call of Duty. And it's not just a movie. They are also talking about a franchise, TV shows, and expanding upon the Call of Duty brand, not just in the gaming space, but across the multimedia space. And I'm really curious about this. Call of Duty has been all over the place in terms of quality. It's been all over the place in terms of settings and tones. There's been stuff set in the past, stuff set in the far future. So where they can go with this is really up in the air. And I think what will determine what this movie ends up being to me is who they get to direct it, right? That will be what sets us apart from, is this just another like straight to streaming kind of quality action movie, or is it going to really set itself apart as like the next great military action movie? We haven't had like a truly fantastic military action film in a long time. Stuff like Civil War, I think, stands up as some of the better like war films of the last few years, but I wouldn't call that like an actual action film in terms of military boots on the ground type of action. So who directs this to me is going to be what determines the quality and my excitement level. How are you feeling, Ari?
I feel like who you're thinking of is very likely, because it's been rumored that he's back at Paramount for Transformers. So maybe if that movie like does really well, they're like, let's have Michael Bay direct Call of Duty.
I'm curious if we ever hear anything about money-wise, how much they spent on this, because this is quite the big brand, and they have annual releases, and they are almost every single year the highest selling game of all games, and I think that shows that even if you're not familiar with the Call of Duty brand, you know somebody who's playing it, and I think that level of brand familiarity is going to be huge. And like I mentioned, Paramount just finished off that merger, so to me, this is another one of those moves to be like, we are here to stay. We're not like just another big conglomerate. We're a movie studio, and getting a big brand like this, that's a big deal. But yeah, do you want to throw out a few names of who you think might be behind the camera directing Call
Yeah,
of Duty?
I mean, you think Michael Bay probably. I think. I mean,
Oh my god, that would be beautiful.
mm, I mean,
Beautiful.
I mean, maybe Alex Garland. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like Michael Bay. I feel like we're gearing up for that. I mean, why would you not do that? Like, I don't even love Michael Bay, but like that's just like it's right there.
It's right there. It would be a lot of fun, and he would capture that like Americana energy that Call of Duty can have, where like the game will end and there will just be like bald eagles and red, white, and blue flags everywhere. When you finish that game and you're like, yeah, I love America. And I feel like Michael Bay could pull that out of me. Michael Bay could make me believe.
And that would, I mean, unfortunately, take us back in time. But we can see society, the country, pop culture. It seems like is unfortunately heading in a conservative direction. So I would not be surprised at all if this happens and they let him go lean in that direction.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a sign of leaning towards the middle America, towards a conservative brand. And Call of Duty is a like fairly conservative brand. I would say they're like hyper into military advertising and military partnerships and that kind of stuff. And the military is involved generally in how they're portrayed in these games and stuff like that. So I don't expect this to be necessarily super challenging to the military, but also the most popular brand by a mile within Call of Duty is the Black Ops brand, which is about like these underground missions that are very much challenging to the government and make the presidents out to be the villains and that kind of stuff. So this is where they can go in a lot of directions, but yeah, who they get behind it will be what determines that direction. Alex Garland, you mentioned him, would be such a great fit. Ross in the comments said he's confused. Wasn't there a Call of Duty movie this year? Warfare is basically a COD movie. And yeah, when you watch Warfare and Civil War, like you can see Garland would pull that off real, real well. And here's the thing, I believe Michael might be managing the Here's the Thing chat, mentioned that he's surprised it took this long to make a Call of Duty movie. And I'm also surprised it took that long with not just the rise of video game movies right now, but just the last, 20 years of Call of Duty being essentially the biggest thing in gaming. Like ever since Call of Duty 4 really revitalized the first-person shooter genre, there has been interest in a Call of Duty movie since then, even before then, really. And I'm glad it waited until now, because I think if it would have come out a few years ago, it would definitely have not been taken as seriously as it would now. Like the video game craze is here to stay, at least for right now. So I think Paramount certainly is going to put money behind this. They're not going to get some like streaming director to make this thing. They're going to get somebody big.
No, this is not going to be, and they're not going to make the Halo mistake again, right? And I think if Halo had been made under this new regime, it would not have been. They wouldn't have let that go to streaming. Are you kidding me? No, this is going to be a $200 million movie. This is going to be huge.
Speaking of Halo, I'm going to throw out a name there. Let me know if I'm aiming too high, but someone who was attached to Halo for a really, really long time that never made it happen, and that is Steven Spielberg. Saving Private Ryan himself, he could come back to the war genre and maybe give us something great. Do you think Steven Spielberg is too high on the call sheet, or do you think that's something they could actually do? Like Amazon got Denis Villeneuve to make Bond.
I feel like if this new film of his, this UFO film, if that really hits big, then I think that phone call, I think it's very possible. I also don't think Spielberg is like above doing like a Call of Duty movie. Like there were rumors he was in talks for Fantastic Four originally when they had the A-list cast. He's over the years had talked for franchise. Wasn't he going to do like a DC? Wasn't he going to do a DC film that was military related? I believe he was. So he's no stranger to this kind of thing, and I think he would not be a bad choice at all. Michael Bay, it really depends on how this Transformers movie does.
Michael Bay will be interesting because his tone can be so all over the place, and Call of Duty tends to be most of the time a pretty serious franchise, although it does have like zombies and space lasers once in a while, depending how you're feeling. Ross says, imagine a James Cameron Call of Duty movie. That would be a lot of fun.
James Cameron, that's not
never gonna happen, but like in a different reality. I'm gonna throw out one more name, a Paramount staple, someone who just shepherded one of their biggest franchises through many of its best films up to now where seemingly that franchise is asleep, which is Mission Impossible. Do you think Christopher McQuarrie could helm Call of Duty? Paramount, he's loving Paramount. He's made how many movies with them now? And he seems like he needs something else, Mission Impossible is asleep for the moment.
With Tom Cruise?
That would be incredible. And Call of Duty has a history of like taking A-listers and putting them in for a role, like Milo Ventimiglia, and the name hasn't aged well now, but at the time Kevin Spacey was huge, and then they got Kevin Spacey to be in Call of Duty as the main villain.
Am I wrong, or is Kevin Spacey in one of the Call of Duty games?
Yeah, he's in one of the Call of Duty as the main villain. So they have a history of like, we're going to get an A-lister, we're going to get a recognizable face to be in this game. So I imagine if they're going to get Tom Cruise or somebody, throw them in as the villain, get us a big A-lister in the villain role.
I think the biggest takeaway from this story is that the new Paramount regime, Paramount does not have Star Wars, they don't have Marvel, they don't have DC. They need to build up the properties they have.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a lot. Like, if Top Gun, Transformers, build up Call of Duty, make it a film franchise. Like,
you've got a lot of great names being thrown out. Joseph Kaczynski. You also have Peter Berg off of Lone Survivor. Lone Survivor, I watched that, and that reminded me of Call of Duty missions.
I think if I were to predict right now, I would predict Michael Bay.
I don't know if I want to predict Michael Bay, but I think he's definitely a name that could be floating around.
Alex Garland, honestly, if this Elden Ring movie really hits, they'll be like, he just made a great video game movie. Like, should we get him?
How about Zach Kreger? He just did Weapons, which has that really heightened sense of energy. He could follow like multiple soldiers across a battlefield, or even across like multiple battlefields and across time.
That would be really interesting.
Something like that.
Might be too busy for them though.
Yeah, he's got Resident Evil, and then what else has he got?
Yeah. Well, that Joker movie he pitched to DC, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see about that. Should we move on to the next story?
Yeah. Anything else about Call of Duty? I think we basically covered Call of Duty. I'm very, very excited for it, though. I have so much history of Call of Duty. Go back all the way to like prior to high school. One of my original franchises. Yeah. So I'm gonna love this thing.
I just wanted to bring this up to you. Apparently, it's real. It's not officially from Warner Brothers, but it's from Dread Central from an interview they did with Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. I just sent it to you. I don't want to share it for copyright reasons, but just open your messenger real quick. Take a look at this. I need to get your thoughts on that. So, open it up real quick. Let's get your live reaction.
I'm okay. So I'm gonna pull this up on the screen for you guys.
Are we good to do that?
We'll find out. Because there's a line between parody and then just doing the thing, and we have upcoming hit film Conjuring Part 8, and in Conjuring Part 8 they decided to do a poster that is not quite if you're an audio listener or something, this is basically the poster for The Exorcist, but rather than the priest from The Exorcist, you're seeing Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson standing in the light, and then in the exact same font and the exact same coloring, it says The Conjuring Last Rites.
Unless Dread Central's just spraying a prank on everybody, but it's like from their interview, like this is Jesus. What why would they do this? Like,
it's a tribute,
I think genuinely studios are so dumb. They're probably like, oh, it's a tribute, right? This is fine. We're paying homage. We're being respectful. It is The Exorcist. Was that Warner Brothers?
I actually don't remember. I believe it was, though.
Because if it was, then I guess they're probably...
No, that was actually... The new one was Universal.
The new one. The Exorcist... Well, yeah.
Ross says yes, so I'm going to go with what Ross says.
That is unbelievable. I mean,
EDM's questioning if Call of Duty should go with the up-and-coming screenwriter. I think that could be really interesting. There's so many ways you can go with it. Russ throws out Catherine Bigelow, says Catherine Bigelow would never, but maybe she would. I mean, she's going to have a great release this year.
Yeah.
If this movie comes out and House of Dynamite is her like new thriller coming out, which is not dissimilar to a Call of Duty plot, I guess. You could see how that could be a Call of Duty game.
And what if it's received very well in a commercial way, not in an awards way? You know, we'll see. But yeah, I just had to bring that up. There was no way I wasn't going to bring that up. So let's move on. What's our next story?
Our next story, we have covered Call of Duty. Now we're getting to the big guy here, the one that everyone's been talking about for the last few days. Ari, can you smell that?
Oh my God. Wait.
Can you smell what The Rock is cooking? He might be cooking an Oscar.
He might be getting an Oscar. I was just telling you just a few days ago, I was like, I'm not saying it's extremely likely, but it's definitely, I think it's possible that he at least gets in. I don't know if he's going to win, but he's going to get in. And then you actually did not know, which is not, I hold no judgment over you because I thought the same thing. You'd assume that it was Benny Safdie doing Marty Supreme and Josh Safdie doing the Smashing Machine. It just feels right. No, it's the other way around. Benny Safdie directed this one, which when you watch the trailer again with that in your mind, you're like, you know, this does kind of look like the more awards-friendly movie. I think that we cannot. I mean, he's in the race now. Like,
there's no counting him out now. And people, including myself, were kind of writing off this narrative of like, are people really going to be accepting of The Rock? Like, people like The Rock, but are they going to look at him and be like, you're some outsider trying to come in and win an Oscar? Like, you're not going to get it on your first try. Like, slow down there. But I don't want to go just off of one premiere and one standing ovation, right? Like, Venice can be really welcoming to Hollywood celebrities, especially like big names like that. Celebrity of a celebrity. The Rock is like one of the most famous of celebrities, right? So this could just be he's famous, so we're clapping for him, right? So I don't want to just go all in on Smashing Machine and say it's going to win Best Picture, right? But in a year where we're starting to see a lot of stuff fall off, a lot of stuff like Jay Kelly premiered here at Venice as well, to not great acclaim at all, and stuff that seemed like staples are not really going to be staples anymore. So I wonder if this Safdie versus Safdie Oscar battle could actually happen. I'm really excited to see what Dwayne Johnson does with this performance and if he actually is earning of the attention. But for me, what's going to determine the Smashing Machine is how it performs at other festivals, right? Because a Hollywood celebrity can wow a Venice crowd, but like, what about everybody else, right? And I'm much, much more sold on this than I was a couple of days ago. And I think it's safe to bet for Dwayne Johnson, an actor, as a nomination. But I think you got to slow down if you're starting to think about winning.
Where else is it set to play? That
I'm not sure. I can look that up when you're giving your
first week
answer.
of October, so we don't have a ton of time.
No, it's there's not a lot of space left, and I'm really thinking that this is a great sign for the movie, especially like I said in a weaker year, a year where the biggest social hit has been Sinners, which was a long time ago. So if this comes out and everyone's talking about, oh my God, The Rock is back, The Rock is back, I'm not saying it's going to get in for picture necessarily, but I think it's possible. So you definitely got to battle him for actor, though. Is there anything else standing out for you regarding Smashing Machine or Venice this weekend?
To me, the biggest takeaway to the reactions to this movie is that even the negative ones are like, I didn't like the movie, but The Rock is amazing. Like, he genuinely transforms, and you don't forget it's The Rock, but you're like, he's doing so much in this movie. What I found interesting, I saw a quote from a review that said, the greatest part about this performance is he does so much by doing nothing. And I'm excited to see The Rock genuinely be vulnerable. I mean, the trailer makes it look that way, and part of me is like, I just can't wait to see the Safdies back. The other part of me is like, how are these two movies going to differ from each other? It's going to be so interesting to be able to do that double feature in December.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they play against each other, and it's odd that they're both at A24, so I don't know if A24 is going to want to set both the movies against each other, but it is a cool moment of timing. And The Smashing Machine seems to be much more of a straightforward film, much more of a streamlined biopic, which can be a lot more accessible. Whereas the other film feels, Marty Supreme feels a bit more manic and a bit more kind of, I don't know, unconventional compared to what The
The
Smashing Machine is
trailer
going for.
makes Marty Supreme look like an Oscar approachable movie, but I don't know. Like, what is Josh Safdie like as a director on his own? Like, is he gonna make something like really weird and off kilter? I think he might, because when you first hear these two movies, you would really think that Marty Supreme would be the more approachable Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie is just such a simple, it's just about a wrestler. Like, this is absolutely the type of thing that could win all the Oscars, or at least I think right now. I would predict him getting into Best Actor.
And this narrative of like he cried uncontrollably, like he really is showing his emotions. He's showing that he's not just here to get points or whatever. He's here because he's passionate about it, right? That's probably going to be his play for the whole season. Is I'm here because this is what I really wanted to be doing the whole time. I'm here finally being me. I'm finally doing what I want to do.
Yeah,
I don't know if I buy that narrative. I mean, you've been doing what you wanted to do for a while, Dwayne, and it was not working out for you.
Yeah.
So now you're doing what somebody else is probably telling you to do. But I'm sure it's going to turn out well.
It is interesting to think about how, like, if that had worked, if he had stayed there, like, this would not be happening.
Yeah, and that's when you think about DC, The Rock's already going with this narrative of like, oh, I was listening to other people who were telling me what to do. I've got to do me now. And in what capacity were you listening to other people during Black Adam? In what capacity were you listening to other people during the Fast and the Furious productions? It doesn't sound like you're listening to anybody, and a lot of the DC struggles came down to The Rock trying to take over DC despite people telling him that he shouldn't. And it came down to The Rock being completely bought in on Black Adam being the best movie of all time, despite it not being that, So look, The Rock, I don't know if I buy your narrative of, now suddenly today I'm going to start doing what I want to do. It feels like you've been doing what you want to do this whole time, and it's what's cost your career the direction it's gone. It's the reason that he's always in the lead. It's the reason that he's never losing fights. It's the reason that he can't be the funny side character like he's been in other things. All of that is because of what The Rock wants to do. The Rock wants to sell his brand. He wants to sell himself as cool. And so all of these struggles he's going through of like trying to defeat that brand and sell himself as a real actor, I don't necessarily feel for him because he built that brand himself. So I'm not like, oh, yeah, poor Rock who has to defeat Hollywood's image of him. He spent a lot of money building that image up, but I'm hopeful that this movie will actually be great. And yeah, I'm already tired of the narrative though. It's going to be 6 months of The Rock saying like, oh, somebody else made me do that movie.
The Rock. If The Rock wants an Oscar, The Rock's going to get an Oscar. If The Rock wants to give this channel a copyright strike and shut us down forever and send us into hell, then that's going to happen. I think that this is just very interesting. Like, we are in a world where The Rock could win an Oscar. James Gunn is running DC. I mean, these are truly very interesting times. And
when you compare The Rock's career to other people in his trajectory, people were always saying, oh, Dave Bautista, he's so far ahead of The Rock. John Cena, he's so far ahead of The Rock. And they were in certain regards, but it seems like The Rock is absolutely going to be the first of them to be in contention for an Oscar.
He'll be the first one to get nominated, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the movie. It's not that long away, so I'm really excited for it.
I guess we can touch on Frankenstein. That got a very long-standing ovation. It sounds like the reviews weren't incredible, but it sounds like everyone is loving Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein.
I'm really curious about that one because, yeah, the reviews are not incredible, but Netflix has had both Frankenstein and Jay Kelly come out to mixed, if not bad, reviews. So I feel like it opens up Netflix to run some other stuff. Like K-pop Demon Hunters could have a really good run. Even we just talked about House of Dynamite, Catherine Bigelow action thriller. I guess I'm really pushing that. That debuted here at Venice to really, really, really good reviews, really strong reception. And that was something that everyone was sleeping on, writing it off as just like another Netflix thriller starring Idris Elba or something like that. And you can't write it off now. If anything else, it's going to be a big hit, and it's going to be one of Netflix's better movies of the year, even if it's not an Oscar player. So
maybe
you got to put that on your radar if you were not paying attention to that.
Maybe if this movie is a big success commercially or awards, maybe we could see her. Look, she can make a good studio movie again. She's someone that maybe would be willing to listen and work with a studio. Maybe we could see her direct like a DC movie.
Yeah, maybe. She came up for Call of Duty, and I thought that was a really good call from Ross.
My first thought was maybe they get her for Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, if that movie ends up coming to fruition, that could be a good pick.
It sounds like they just couldn't. It sounds like it just wasn't working with Luca, so maybe it would work with him or with her. And she's been in the industry for so long, so like she knows how to play game. So we'll see. Let's see how this movie is received.
Yeah, it's going to come down to Netflix. Netflix actually has a pretty stacked year right now in terms of contenders. They have House of Dynamite, they have Frankenstein, they have Jay Kelly. They've also got Knives Out, which I think has a really good shot at least a couple of nominations. And then they also have some sleepers, which are, I would say, Ballad of a Small Player, and then K-Pop Demon Hunters. You can't sleep on K-Pop Demon Hunters. The big hit of the summer, one of the biggest,
The legs on that movie are insane. I mean, people just kept on watching it every week.
Yeah, and then in the theaters, it made incredible amounts of money. So I think you got to look at that. And yeah, Detroit, Catherine Bigelow's previous film, Detroit, Michael brings it up. Just because Detroit wasn't an Oscar player doesn't mean that she's not going to make it this year. And yeah, Detroit wasn't an Oscar player, but it was sort of like on the outside looking in, like it should have been an Oscar player. It was not an Oscar player for like reasons beyond her control, right? She made a great movie out of it. It just didn't play right. So that's not really on her.
I think as we close out, I think we should jump to not the next one, the one that was going to be after the next one.
Yeah, we just mentioned Netflix has a large variety of contenders this year at the Oscars, but one that I'm not sure is a contender, but it could be. We'll see how it goes. They're releasing it for contention, and it's Knives Out 3. They're just announced today the official release date. I think it's our first time getting the release date, but not just the release date, a theatrical run.
Yeah, They caved.
I don't know if they caved or if they just had to, because if they don't do this, they're not going to get in contention for the Oscars. But they did announce prior to the release of Knives Out 3 on Netflix, they are going to do a limited theatrical run. They haven't said how limited. It'll probably be more limited than The Glass Onion was, unfortunately. But
it's going to be what Netflix does is they put out their movies that ones for awards contention in like New York, LA, Chicago for a couple weeks. Like I saw Maestro, and it'll come to New York, LA, Chicago, but unfortunately it is pretty limited. It might not come here. It might not come to you. I mean, you'll be able to see it because you're in Illinois, but unfortunately a lot of people won't see it in theater, but it's still better than nothing.
And going on to K-Pop Demon Hunters, the logic of K-pop, if this movie comes out to Netflix and is a huge hit for Netflix, it could absolutely get another release. Like K-pop got a limited run also, and then it got a Netflix drop, and then after a month or so on Netflix, they were like, hey, we've got a hit. Let's put it back out. And Knives Out is such like a collective kind of party watch. You want to be with everybody watching it or reacting to it. I could see it being one where they put it back out in theaters. Maybe they could even do a gimmick or something where there's like a different ending, or there's a secret, like a post-credit scene or something along those lines, or even just watch an interview with Daniel Craig and Ryan Johnson after the credits, something to get people to go out in the theater and say, you could watch it at home, but if you come to the theater, you'll get this.
I want to say that their comments contributed to this, but then again, they had to do this to qualify for awards. Their
comments did not contribute to this.
Yeah,
if it gets a wide release, then their comments contributed to this, but this had nothing to do with them saying anything, right? This was just what they had to do.
Yeah, it's weird they kept saying we're not giving a theatrical release, but you would have to if you wanted an award.
I don't think this is what they meant though. Like They meant an actual release, not a release in like 3 theaters for a couple of days. Like they want people to see it like they did last time.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. If it does play here, I'll probably see it multiple times. If it plays in Chicago, might just have to just see it like twice or something. But hopefully, my question was, did K-pop get a limited run before it went to Netflix?
Yes, it did. It had a short run in LA and New York, and that was it. It didn't.
Yeah, we gotta talk about some of these faces looking a little weird, look a little off. Look at Jeremy Renner's face.
Hold on, let me get a better high quality image so we can zoom in. You're saying they feel off. Do you think they're AI, or do you think it's just a bad poster?
I don't know. It doesn't look like him. It looks off. I would hope they wouldn't use AI, but I don't know. It's becoming more and more common to do that.
You wonder sometimes if it's AI or if it's just poorly rendered. But let's see if we can get a better look. Emily Blunt's back there smiling about it. Let's see what we can see. Anything better on this screen? It does sell you on the different setting, the different tone. You know, it already feels like a more serious movie than the last two.
God, look at Josh Brolin. Look at that haircut.
I'm standing by my theory that this church is going to be seemingly haunted. That Daniel Craig is going to be dealing with what seems to be an actual ghost, and he's going to have like a crisis of faith. He's like, I don't believe in the supernatural, but yet there seems to be a ghost in this church.
What if he'd been to this church before for another murder, and it's the person who died is haunting him, and maybe it was partly his fault.
That'd be interesting. Really, really incredible cast. And when we talk about the casting, Oscar, we'll talk about more on the awards roundtable in the next few days when we'll go through all of the various contenders that are lining up. But just look at this poster, man. Look at all these faces. Look at all these names. How does that not get in contention for the casting, Oscar? You know, we're going to see so many movies like this now where it's like, here's a poster with like every really big name. Even now we're seeing like Star Wars Starfighter is filling in so many of its roles with big faces, maybe to contend for a casting Oscar. But yeah, I like this poster. I really like the setting and the tone. They do kind of blend together. Like Ethan Hawke might as well be Josh Brolin in this picture, you know? But I'm excited to see how all these characters form their personalities and see them all interact with each other.
I only just realized that Thomas Hayden Church is in this, and it takes place at
a church.
Yeah.
Great.
Ryan Johnson's a funny guy.
Great joke.
Yeah. Should we move on to the big one?
Yeah, I think you had all we have to say about Knives Out 3, although I am really excited for it. And yeah, I think if we're talking about its contention for anything, it's really going to depend on the tone. And the last one was received well, but not received like incredibly well critically. Like it was, it
wasn't like the first one.
It wasn't like the first one. And if they want to get actual contention for awards, they've got to be better than the first one. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, it could. It just if it is better than the first one, everyone's loving it. We'll see.
I wonder how it looks as well. The last one had a clear step down, I thought, in terms of its filmmaking and the camera work and all of that stuff. You can see the Netflix shine.
That's why I hope he leaves Netflix after this one.
K-pop was Netflix's widest release with the first over 1,000 screens.
And it made more than Weapons that weekend.
Yeah, and I think that's a lesson that Netflix will learn. They're not stupid. They're going to see that money, and they're going to want to make that again, right? They're not just going to say, oh, we made some money once. Let's never do that again. You know, they're going to watch how these things do.
I would hope not, but Netflix is not – they've proven to not be smart.
I don't know if they have. I mean, they just made millions of dollars off of their highest profile movie ever. Like,
yeah, because they finally realized that's something they should do.
And at the same time, all these other studios have been chasing Netflix, and they have all been failing. Like, look at all these other streaming platforms that are falling on their face, trying so hard to be Netflix. Netflix is just sitting here doing better and winning. Like we can sit there and say, oh, but they're not doing what I would do. But they're doing what works. They're clearly the most successful. and they're doing something right.
Yeah, it does work, but they have been throwing away money forever.
And hopefully now they'll learn their lesson, because there's no denying it. After K-pop did not just do well; it was an incredible hit.
And what if this limited release of Knives Out, even though it's for an awards run, like what if it does do incredible? Like, are they really gonna say let's just put it back on Netflix, no more theaters? Like, you got to put that out for at least a week again. Like, that's just money laying on the table.
All right, do you want to talk about box office as we're in the middle of the box office, or do you want to move on to Star Wars? How are you feeling?
I guess, let's do box office.
The summer box office, we had a really unique summer box office, I would say. We have stuff like Weapons, which is now in its 4th week at number 1, and that seems like it's due to Weapons being good, but also due to a lack of passion for the other options. There's a lot of movies came out this summer, but not a ton of them did super well. I think you can say that it was a strong summer, but not an incredible summer. We'll go through it studio by studio, but you also got to mention the fact that there were 2 very high-profile superhero releases that both did all right. I wouldn't say either one of them did poorly, but neither one of them did incredibly well either. And I think that spells change in Hollywood. We're seeing all these new IPs get announced, from like Call of Duty and now K-pop Demon Hunters. I think change is in the air. Superheroes are not going away. Clearly, they still make a lot of money, but they're no longer the billion-dollar free money they once were. So we're seeing a lot of stuff come in that was, you wouldn't think would be the biggest box office winner that ends up being huge. Like Lilo and Stitch pretty much saved Disney's summer, right?
Yeah, I just had to point out that didn't K-pop Demon Hunters top Weapons last weekend?
I think it did, but I'm not sure. You follow the box office a little more closer than I do.
I believe it did, and then Weapons came back this weekend, which is pretty incredible. What an incredible run. I mean, it's funny that Weapons ended up being the most profitable blockbuster of the summer. I mean, nothing touched it. I mean, sure, Superman and Fantastic Four made a lot more money, but in terms of profit, like, this is the most successful blockbuster of the summer. And
I'm really happy for it. It's a new director, not even close, not an IP, something that's totally new and not a franchise. So I'm happy to see it. In a year of sequels and reboots, it's always cool to see a new budding filmmaker come in and make something that just captures the world by storm and everybody can't stop talking about it.
And everyone you talk to who watched the movie, you're like, that was great. Like, the majority of audiences and critics are like, this thing is great. And another win for Warner Brothers. I mean, yeah, they are having a good year.
Yeah, we're criticized going into this year for only releasing a small amount of movies, but basically everything that they've released this year has been a big hit.
Yeah,
and like surprise hits too. Like Sinners was something that everyone was saying, "Oh, what a mistake to sign Ryan Coogler for that much money. That movie is totally going to bomb." That's going to be one of those the next on the long list of new IPs that bomb from ambitious filmmakers, right? And Warner Brothers, along with Ryan Coogler, of course, but their bet on Sinners paid off and proved us all wrong. And
maybe Superman didn't make $1 billion, but like, look at all the other movies, Sinners. I mean, and it was a lot better than it could have been. It could have been worse.
They managed. Superman is absolutely a win compared to where DC was at going into this. Like, that's a win.
Should we jump into? Let's just jump into A24 because this is interesting to me. A24 went up about 160%, I believe, from last summer. Last summer it made around 30 million, and it was, I think, 80 million. And you got to ask the question, people are talking about, is there Pedro Pascal fatigue? It's like, do we credit part of this to him?
I think you credit it to A24. They've done a lot of work to sell themselves as a brand, and everybody talks about, oh, that was like an A24 movie, and that really shouldn't mean anything, but when somebody says it's like an A24 movie, we all know exactly what they're talking about and what that means to them, and I think it's A24 who spent a decade building that brand. And yeah, Pedro Pascal made them some money this year, but he also was in Eddington and movies that were huge failures, right? And when Eddington came out and it made no money, people were like, "Oh, Ari Aster is done. Like A24 is getting rid of this guy." But when you see that they made so much money hand over fist compared to last year, maybe Ari Aster is someone that you keep around purely to maintain that brand. Like I said, you want people to know what A24 is and what they stand for. And once A24 is getting into these big budget movies, Civil War and Elden Ring and all kinds of huge IP, they could lose that identity really quickly. So I'm happy to see them still making stuff like Eddington, and I hope that the failure of Eddington does not convince them that, we should just go with the box office play, because if they just start only going with box office play for everything, they're definitely going to lose their identity, and they're just going to become one of several studios that makes, not forgettable, but just this run-of-the-mill work. I'm hopeful A24 can maintain their brand image, because I think that's what makes them so special.
Yeah, and I believe this is mostly thanks to Materialist. Like, that movie did really well. I mean, it's definitely in their top 5 highest-grossing films. It is an indie studio, but they have these movies like that, Everything Over at Once, Uncut Gems, that just really hit people, really like them, and go see them. Like, it sounds like to me, though, the reactions to Materialist were mixed, but it made a lot. I feel like a lot of people, for that movie, I heard a lot of people showing up for Pedro, but I wonder, is Dakota Johnson, do people like Dakota Johnson more than we think they do?
And I think people were interested to see Chris Evans in a role that was outside of the norm, too. They had 3 real big recognizable faces, and I think that certainly helps. A24, as much as they're making big budget movies, they're also putting their money towards stars, and everybody on the map wants to be the next Toni Collette, right? We've seen everybody try and be the next Hereditary and try and be in the next, Afterlife or whatever. If they pick whatever A24 movie you want to pick, they want to be the next of that. And I think that's really appealing, especially when they make money like this, right? That's what makes Pedro Pascal sign on to Eddington. That's what makes Chris Evans sign on to Materialists. When they can point to this 100+ growth in the box office, that's going to get all kinds of names attached, right? And as they start building bigger productions like Elden Ring, they can use this as to their advantage to get big names and big directors attached. So only good news for A24. And it helps you feel safer when you see those big bombs and you're like, oh my God, is A24 cooked? They're not cooked.
And then let me see.
We can talk about Paramount, which also had similar strong performance despite heavy criticism of a merger and everyone saying it was over and those kinds of things. And Paramount seemed like it was on the verge and it was in the middle of getting purchased. And even within all that, they still had a pretty solid year.
I think that what people have to remember is that with Mission Impossible, this new one was considered a failure because it cost so much. You're not... Also, Mission Impossible as a brand is just, I don't know. I think that's going to be put to rest for a while. And then Naked Gun, it did what it could. You can't put much blame on that movie because if you look where comedy is, it is what it is. Maybe they'll bring it back. We'll see. But, it's up 12% from last summer. You're not going to be Top Gun Maverick. And again, I think with this new leadership, the company's going to be going in a better direction.
They've already done so many aggressive moves that I think their next few years are going to be real big.
And then Universal had a really good summer with $758 million, about even with last summer, thanks to Jurassic World Rebirth, at $338 million, and How to Train Your Dragon at $262 million. How to Train Your Dragon did really well. That movie is still playing at my theater just a week ago.
And really impressive. It's an example of if you do a live action remake and you actually do it well, people will go see it. And Lilo and Stitch, I didn't love it, but it was received pretty well from fans, right? So not every remake is going to be Snow White. If you would do it well and are respectful to the source material, to the way that fans will like it, it can do well.
Oh, I forgot. The third A24 movie was Bring Her Back. Which it makes sense that would have helped. Yeah, I've still not seen it, but
that did make money. And both of these studios, Universal and A24, are hugely funded by horror, right? Universal has a lot of horror stuff through Blumhouse, which helps them a lot. And of course, A24 makes its name in the so-called elevated horror genre. So horror is free money if you could market it right. And even stuff like Toxic Avenger, it didn't do well, but I'm sure it made enough money to, be profitable for what it was, or at least sell it as a cool movie, and yeah, horror is huge. As someone mentioned in the comments, horror is dominating 2025 in general right now. Yeah, horror is absolutely big, and it helps those studios like Universal that could be struggling. They just every single week there's a new horror movie out to keep that studio up and running.
And speaking of horror, Sony went down 66% this summer from last summer. $174 million. But the reason they could have done worse if it weren't for 28 Years Later. 28 Years Later really helped them. $70.4 million domestically. That franchise does have some juice in it. But they had 28 Years Later. They had Karate Kid Legends, which failed miserably.
Not good.
Jesus, you probably forgot that even came out. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Not
Lots of misses. At my AMC, they still had Karate Kid popcorn buckets out. I saw a post at someone's AMC. They were literally saying, "This is free. Please just take them. You don't want them."
Jesus, that's gonna be the Toxic Avenger tins. Why are we doing this? Why are we making popcorn buckets for Toxic Avenger? Like, whoa, jeez, what's going? Like, I love Naked Gun, but like, not everything needs a popcorn bucket. And then last but not least, Caught Stealing, which did not do well at all.
Yeah, I'm curious about Sony's future. Are they going to be the next on the chopping block that gets gobbled up by somebody else? It seems like they might be heading that direction.
It seems like they're heading that direction. Let me just. Apparently, their total even includes Crunchyroll and Sony Picture Classics, obviously, but Crunchyroll. So I guess that's my question is, does that include like the anime re-releases? I'm not sure, but yeah, not a good summer for Sony. And yeah, like, do we think that's going to happen? Like, are they going to get bought out by someone?
I think it's very possible. And my question comes down to who and how capacity, right? Do they just like buy it and gobble it up, or do they like try and keep it independent? There's a lot of studios that they have good relationships with. They have a very good relationship with Netflix. I feel like Netflix is a good contender to be purchasing this possibly because Netflix hasn't done a lot of big purchases like that yet. They don't really have the money to play with to do anything like that, but I could see something happening with Netflix. Apple also has been really looking to buy a studio. They seem very interested.
Disney is just so big that like you would hope it wouldn't be allowed, but it sounds like it would.
Yeah, they've been very lax on these mergers recently in Hollywood, especially with Republicans in the office. They tend to be a little bit more lax on these things. So I think Disney is obviously a big contender. They would really want that. They would want that IP. They'd want Spider-Man. But there's part of me that feels like Sony doesn't want to sell to Disney and that there's a little bit of animosity between the studios.
They definitely don't want to. Let me jump to Lionsgate. Went down 8% from last summer, 72.9 million at 6.5. They didn't have a lot. They just had Ballerina and that Weak Engine Ortega movie, Hurry Up Tomorrow, which talk about a failure.
Real, that's a terrible year for them. Oh my goodness, what the hell?
Yeah,
that's like real bad. That's two just full-on stinkers. Like, I know people like Ballerina, but come on. What?
Come on. Terrible. Oh, obviously, yeah, Disney. We got to talk about Disney.
Yeah, Disney. Tell me how Disney did this year.
They seems like they had the highest out of anyone. Like, they made $1.02 billion. Lilo and Stitch, The Fantastic Four, First Steps. This is domestically, by the way. If it was worldwide, it would be more over $1 billion because Lilo and Stitch itself made $1 billion. But yeah, Fantastic Four, First Steps, $266 million. So it's good. It's good, but it's not where they want to be. You don't want a Fantastic Four movie making less than $300 million and their new team movie making $190 million.
Yeah, when it comes to Disney's box office, they should breathe a sigh of relief, but they should not be breathing calmly, right? Like they made it through the summer. They did not totally flop on their heads with Fantastic Four, but they definitely did with Thunderbolts. That was not a
abysmal
well-performing
failure.
movie.
But
A
I think
failure no matter how you look at it financially.
I think it's an interesting to point out that Fantastic Four didn't make that much more than Thunderbolts, which is really bad. Thunderbolts, that's an established, like, sure, the movies don't have good reviews, but, like, people know who Fantastic Four is. And for that to not make a significant amount more than Thunderbolts.
Yeah, people were talking about Fantastic Four like it was $1 billion contender before this year.
Yikes. Yeah, no, that was never going to happen. And yeah, Ilio did not do well. Freakier Friday was okay, It definitely opened lower than people thought. Disney was down 32% from last year.
Yeah, they were in a rough spot. They had no Deadpool and Wolverine. They don't have anything like that. And this is not a new struggle for Disney. In the last 5 or so, maybe a little longer than that, they've been struggling for a bit to really capture the momentum. And it's very clear that Disney has lost the culture. Like, Disney does not have everybody by the grip anymore. And there's all kinds of reasons for that. It's political reasons, it's social reasons, it's just lack of quality movie reasons. I think it's a lot of things adding up for Disney all at the same time that are just not helpful. Like Star Wars is like a dead franchise. We'll talk about Star Wars in a second, but as of right now, there's nothing going on with Star Wars. Nobody is caring about Star Wars in the movie theater sense. Like no one's going to see that stuff. Marvel is really in a rough spot. People are going a little, but not like they used to, not like they need to. So yeah, Disney really, really needs next year to be good for them. They need Doomsday. They need Spider-Man to hit.
And the big takeaway for this is it's about the same as last summer. It's very close to last summer, which is not necessarily horrible, but that's not great. That's not what you want. And the difference though is there was spread across more movies this summer, which I guess is better. It's not just 2 movies sharing everything, but that's not good. And it's notable that we did have a $4 billion summer post-COVID. 2023, Barbie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Oppenheimer. That was a $4 billion summer, so we are capable of it. The question is, how do we fix it? How do we make that happen again?
We've had so many high-profile failures this year, and that does not help your box office. Like, sure, we, on paper, have had similar summers to last year, but there are just so many high-profile flops this year as well, which might not on paper look as bad as last year, but like Mission Impossible not doing well is really bad. And some of these, Caught Stealing was not a cheap movie to make, and it's doing really bad.
This Deadline article points out that this new study for Gen Alpha pulled 6,100 moviegoers online between May and June, ages 6 to 60. It was kind of optimistic about the younger generation who don't shell out for movies because apparently a lot of them prefer watching movies in a theater more than home. 59% prefer watching a theater, 24% at home, the highest of any other generation, ahead of Gen Z, Millennials, and Gen Xers. So the question in this article is, how do studios win over Gen Alpha and younger Gen Z? By giving them generational ownership and the opportunity to interact with their favorite IPs, theatrical extension. That's what the article is saying. So yeah, I don't know what we do. The study also interestingly said that this younger generation prefers premium large format screens, virtual screens, and screenings with special effects. So do we see a future where we're going to see like 4DX directly featured in trailers for movies? Like, go see this movie in 4DX. This is the way you got to see it.
Yeah, it seems to be the direction. We're going towards like these event-focused versions of movie theaters. Even this weekend, it was like, go see Batman in Dolby, go see Jaws in IMAX. Movies have been out for a really, really, really long time, but people are paying to see them because they want to see them not just in a theater, but in the best theater they can possibly see them in, right? And as people saw like Oppenheimer and things like that in those premium formats, they're really blown away by it. And we're at this point where people are not going to see a movie every week anymore. They're not maybe even going every month anymore, but when they go, maybe they're more willing to shell out and be like, if I'm going to go to the movie theater like once every 2, 3, 4 months, I'm going to go to Dolby. I'm going to go to IMAX. I'm going to go to 4DX. And I'm going to see something I know is going to be good. I'm not going to risk it and see some sequel to some franchise I'm not following. I'm going to go and I'm going to see Back to the Future, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to see Star Wars. I know those are good, and they're going to be showing it 4D. I'm definitely going to go.
Yeah, Jaws played in 4D. Like, this is just, I mean, this is crazy. But the worst part of the weekend is that Jaws made more than any of the 3 new releases. Jaws?
Yeah, people are in that re-release mode. People don't want to see Caught Stealing. They want to go see Jaws. And you can moan about the morals of that or whatever and be like, why aren't they supporting more independent movies? But
Yeah,
they're not. Like, that's just how it is. And that's like, they're not supporting them because Jaws is out this weekend, right? Why would you go see Caught Stealing when you could go see Jaws or Batman?
I remember in 2019, 2020, people were like, what's going to happen? Are movie theaters going to die? Well, they're not going to die. They're just going to change drastically.
Yeah, they'll die if they don't change. If they just keep doing it like you want them to do it and say, oh, but it was working before, so they should just keep doing it that way. They're not going to last. They're closing all over the world. They need to adjust. They need to find a new way to make money because the summer box office, like you said, on paper, it looks like last year. But when you go and dive into it by the studio, by the franchise, all these diehard franchises that have been the staples of the industry for 20 years, they're not there anymore. And I think it is a lot of the generational gap. Like, if you're 10 years old, do you care about Mission Impossible? Do you even care about Tom Cruise? You know, like, you're moving on to somebody else. You're moving on to a new franchise. You want to see something made for you and by you. Minecraft made so much money, and it made money because it was speaking to a generation that felt like it wasn't being spoken to.
And like Weapons was a hit, but that's horror. That's all there was. That's the only interesting thing there was. You can't blame people for not wanting to see these other things because none of them appeal to them. You need to appeal to these. You need to appeal to this younger generation. You need to find a way.
And it's interesting too. The younger generation seems to be really resonating with these re-releases. They seem to be really attaching to the chance to see Jaws, the chance to see Batman, the chance to see these classics that their parents or their grandparents or something probably really liked that they haven't gotten a chance to see, or maybe they've seen 100 times with their dad, and now they're going to go with their dad to go see Spider-Man or something like that. So I really think it's an exciting time. It's a struggle time, but like you said, theaters are changing, and I think they're changing for a good spot. It was a hard couple of years, but when you look at, I saw Batman, I saw both Batmans, I saw a lot of these classics, and it was a blast. I'm not going to be that sad if my movie theater experience from now on is, Back to the Future and Batman is back and Superman is back, and I'm seeing new releases, but I can also go and I can see a couple classics once in a while. You don't got to go to the indie theater in the middle of the city to see a classic. I can show it at AMC or Regal.
This was a little over a week ago, but I'd like to bring this up real quick just to get your thoughts. What do you think about this, that an Archie movie is in the works from Lord and Miller? What are your thoughts on this?
I guess I'll see it. I mean, I like the aesthetic of Archie. I think you could do something fun with it. Riverdale is a show I actually kind of enjoyed, and I like them playing with the tropes of the genre and that kind of stuff. So Lord and Miller are also very fun, and they have a good way of playing on parody and that kind of thing. So I could see them doing a great job.
I'm curious if they can make this work. Like, are you going to make it for... You got to make it for the older people, but also have it appeal to the younger people. You got to find a way to do that.
Yeah, you gotta look at Riverdale, I think, as an example. Like, Riverdale was not for Archie fans, right? Riverdale was for, like, Pretty Little Liar fans. And it worked. It was really successful.
And the weird thing is I believe it's being written by Tom King.
EDM comments saying, re-releases are awesome. Saw Batman Returns, and Jaws 3D. Outside theater now, waiting for Jaws and IMAX. Can't wait for Breakfast Club next week and Back to the Future in October.
Back to the Future 4DX.
Yeah, I have a list here. We'll go into our last category, our section here. We finished kind of our deep dive, so we'll go into what I'm calling our fast forward stories here. So stuff we're just going to kind of mention, but not really have a lot to talk about. And I'll bring that up as our first thing here is Back to the Future is getting a 40x release October 31st. So Halloween night, all through the next week, I believe, if not a little bit longer, you can see classic Back to the Future in 4DX. So if you want to be in that DeLorean, in that car chase with Marty McFly, check it out in 4DX. Are you going to be checking it out, Ari, in 4D?
I feel like it's not optional, right? Like, I can't say no to this. Like, I want to. My wallet wants me to, but I just can't, man. I guess we can add on to this that apparently Tron is getting in select cities IMAX 3D double feature of Tron Legacy and Tron Ares. $35, at least here. But, man, when are you going to get to see Tron Legacy in the IMAX, let alone a theater? Like, I don't want, it's a horrible decision, but you can't say no to that, man.
Yeah,
like,
I missed Tron Legacy the first time, so I'm definitely going to make it a chance to see it this time.
Because I saw it actually played on my birthday here in 3D 2 years ago, and I'm like, God, this movie, it might feel a little thin in ways and feel a little underwritten with the characters, but man, the visuals, the score, the direction. I mean, Joseph Kosinski is a very good technical director. He's perfect for that. Like, and now imagine if they showed that and Top Gun Maverick back to back. That would be incredible.
I also want to mention that Regal is doing what they're calling, I was looking it up, the month of masterpieces. So every day throughout September, they're showing various films from throughout film history that they're declaring as masterpieces. Stuff like Inception and Citizen Kane and Clockwork Orange. Stuff from all across film history, at least contemporary-ish film history.
What day is Megalopolis?
Megalopolis did not make the cut. We're still waiting. So want to hear back from Francis on that one.
So not true masterpieces then.
I saw Paper Moon on Monday. Today was The Dark Knight. Tomorrow was Dog Day Afternoon.
Chinatown is the 29th, which is the final day of Dogma in 4DX. Speaking of those re-releases, Dogma's coming to 4DX across 3 or 4 Mondays this month.
Yeah, if you have a Regal nearby, you definitely check out that Masterpieces on Film series, because especially if you're in like a suburb, you don't really have a chance to see classics on the big screen. This could be your only shot to see a lot of these movies on the big screen. So absolutely check your local Regal, because it's a great chance to see all kinds of stuff that you would never get a chance to see there otherwise.
Do you plan on seeing The Breakfast Club this next week?
I'm thinking about it. I know it's at AMC. It's covered by A-List, so I may go see it, but there's so much at Regal, man. I'm gonna be wanting to be over at Regal when I can get there. Pan's Labyrinth is showing.
Ooh,
Chinatown.
God. You gotta see Pan's Labyrinth. That movie's, oh my God. Especially with Frankenstein coming out, that movie's outstanding. I mean, Guillermo del Toro, we really need him to make a truly great movie again.
Let's talk about another story. The Goonies supposed sequel is, according to the writer, it's moving in the right direction. So it's been on the development for how long? For so long. The cast of that movie is real stacked. They've gone on to do all kinds of big things, and to me, the further away they get, the harder it gets to get that cast back together. And I just start to feel like this more and more uncertain. I'm sure a form of this will come to fruition, but I just get more and more nervous about like how much of this is actually a Goonies sequel, like with the cast, how much of it is going to just be like, we got a couple of them back, but it's like a new generation or whatever. If they're going to make this, you got to get like everybody back you can possibly get, right? That's the appeal.
Everyone back though, like this movie would be huge.
It would be huge. That's such a stacked cast, and to see them together, it'd be worth.
Like if I was a studio, you got to make this happen. Like I don't care what you do, you got to make this happen. But who directs? Do they get like? Because he's no longer with us, and they wanted him to direct. So who do you get? Do you try to get like Spielberg? Like
Spielberg would be a great get.
Maybe he'd actually make a good Goonies movie. An actual Goonies movie that I could call The Goodies and not The Baddies. Because I'm sorry, folks, The Goonies is not. It's just not.
I'm curious about the cast. Sean Astin surely could come back. Josh Brolin is such a busy actor. He's got so much going on though. Like, is that going to be able to happen? Kihei Kwan, MCU. He's got MCU. What else has he really got happening? In
Yeah, he's
not a
not
ton.
busy.
Corey Feldman's rocking some music festivals somewhere. You know, maybe they could get him to come back. I don't know about that.
I don't know. What do we have? Oh, Starfighter.
Yeah, we definitely want to talk about Starfighter. The Starfighter cast is stacked, dude. They have so much on here. I can't even believe it. And we mentioned like the casting Oscar. It seems like studios are leaning into getting bigger and bigger names, but I
Yeah,
also
get
think
that
Star Wars needs names. Star Wars is obviously struggling a little bit, and I think these names are going to win people back. Like no matter what it's about, everyone's going to be like, "Oh, the Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie, I got to see it," and that's going to be good for them.
I really hope this. Ryan Gosling has really struggled as an actor. Like he's good in stuff. People like him, but he just hasn't. He had Barbie, but just people. He just is not. People aren't seeing a movie for Ryan Gosling. Oh, I really hope this is able to help him out. Yeah, we got Ryan Gosling, Amy Adams, Mia Goth, Matt Smith, Aaron Pierre. I mean, what a castman! And to me, when I found out that when I found out that Sean Levy was directing a Star Wars movie, it was like, I don't know, I didn't love Deadpool Wolverine. Is this gonna be just stupid popcorn? At least be good popcorn. But to me, when you get the cinematographer of Life of Pi and Top Gun Maverick, and you get Amy Adams, like to me, that tells me this is not going to be Deadpool and Wolverine.
No, I think they're going to really lean into the Starfighter element. You mentioned the Top Gun Maverick cinematographer. I mean, look at this image right here. This almost feels like Top Gun Maverick. They're sitting there on a speeder in a little hangar, and I can't wait to see how that cinematographer captures racing down like a Tatooine desert or something like that.
God, imagine the actual dogfights, like the space. I mean, like, are you kidding me? Like, you don't get a better pick than that. I think this movie, like Mandalorian Grogu, is their first movie back, but this is truly going to be their first movie back.
Yeah, they're really pushing this as something huge, and I think Mandalorian and Grogu is going to not quite feel like Star Wars is back. It's going to more so feel like Mandalorian is back, right?
It's
and I think
easing you back
fair.
in.
Yeah, they're easing you back in. It's like if they released Rogue One and then they released then they released The Force Awakens after that, and I think that would have been a different experience. But we would have seen Rogue One. We all would have been like, "Yeah, we're back. This is so cool." And then we're warmed up. We get into The Force Awakens, and maybe we're a little bit more forgiving towards stuff like, "Oh, she gets her powers without trying" or whatever. And I think that kind of stuff wouldn't have maybe upset people as much if they were already kind of like fully in, right? So I think if you're going to bring back Rey, if you're going to go back and connect to Rise of Skywalker, your first step is to make something like Mandalorian and Grogu, and then to make something like this, which is not connected to Rise of Skywalker directly, but eases you back in to those characters. It eases you back in to that world so that when Rey does show up again, there's a little bit less baggage and you're a little bit more on board already for what Star Wars is giving you.
This movie is received very well. It's a great way to ease people back in, to reintroduce them to Rey. You know, this is setting up the next trilogy or whatever. People actually get people excited to see Rey and these characters again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Ryan Gosling, if he survives the movie, you know, maybe he is in this next trilogy. I mean, imagine Ryan Gosling and Daisy Ridley side by side. Tell me you don't want to see that.
Yeah, I definitely could see like this kid, Flynn Gray, who's playing the young kid in this. I absolutely could expect like maybe by the end of this film, he's handed off to Rey's Jedi Academy or something. In our last scenes, we see Rey for the first time again, and she's now training some new apprentices. And this Rey movie that supposedly is being talked about as happening it's not like officially dead, right? And Daisy Ridley has said on occasion like, "Oh yeah, something's happening with that. I can't really say what, but like you guys will see." And I think this is what's happening, right? She can't really say because she doesn't want to give away the fact that she's going to be popping up by the end of Starfighter.
I think what's going to happen is her film doesn't happen, but the trilogy does, and this leads into the trilogy.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the Rey film is now going to be a trilogy. Like the story that was going to be the Rey movie doesn't really make sense to do a Rey movie. Just do an actual sequel with the actual.
Yeah, like why would you do a Rey movie and then do another sequel in the Skywalker saga? Like, you just, I mean, that trilogy, those are her movies. Like, why does she need a movie before those?
It'd be like doing a Luke Skywalker spinoff. It'd be like, I thought that was Star Wars. Like I already watched 3 of them. Another one?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I would enjoy a Luke Skywalker show.
I'm really excited for Mia Goth.
That's gonna be, and Matt Smith. Are you kidding me? Matt Smith as an actor has been so underutilized. Like, please put it back on the map with this, because
it'll be fun to see what kind of roles they end up playing. Like when you see Mia Goth and Matt Smith, you think, oh, those are the villains, right? But are they going to do something to subvert that? Are they going to end up being more of the heroic characters? Are they going to or is they going to go the easy route? You have Mia Goth. How are you not giving her a red lightsaber? Making her a Sith, chasing down this kid, hot in the tail.
The rumors that Amy Adams is the mom. I'm worried she's getting pigeonholed and typecast mom roles. I'd love it if she was like an evil Sith.
I could see an interesting twist where like you spend the entirety of the movie thinking that Amy Adams and Ryan Gosling are the heroes trying to save this kid from the Sith, and then at the end you realize that Matt Smith and Mia Goth, in fact, were the Jedi, and Ryan Gosling and Amy Adams were like Sith worshippers or something like that.
And the movie ends with him in the hands of the Sith, which sets up the trilogy.
Yeah, and Rey, you can see this kid end up. We're thinking he's going to be the hero of the next trilogy. What if this is actually an origin story to the villain of the next trilogy?
That'd be really cool.
Any hopes or expectations for Starfighter? We don't know anything really about its storyline or anything like that, but what are you feeling?
It's really hard to predict. I just think that I'm optimistic after seeing this cast and who they get to shoot this movie. I'm more optimistic, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Star Wars is in a very new space. I think this time off is going to be very good for them. Especially like Marvel could have used some time off too, right? I think these franchises that are having a hard time is beneficial to just stop for a little while. Give people time to realize that it's not that big of a deal. Calm down from the last one, and then we can say, you know what, I am a little bit hungry for a Star Wars movie now. I could go for some Star Wars.
And I don't want to spend too much time on this one. We can move on to the next story. Not much to say about this. Bryan Singer, known scumbag. Apparently, he shot a movie in 2023. It's unknown if it was before October 7th or after, but I guess he shot a movie in 2023 starring known right-winger Jon Voight in a movie that is supposedly anti-Israel. It stars a known pedophile. And it's going to be about Jon Voight playing someone either in Lebanon when it was occupied by Israel. And my question, dude, is who's this movie for? Because you're like, oh, it's anti-Israel, so it's going to be for the leftist crowd, right? No, it stars Jon Voight. Okay, so it's going to be for the right-wingers, right? Well, no, it's anti-Israel. So what is this? Why does this movie exist? Like, who is going to see this?
I don't know if I believe it's anti-Israel, but we'll see when we see it.
I was just saying the same thing. How I refuse to believe this movie can actually be anti-Israel. Like, the guy was welcomed into Israel. Like, he's really gonna make a movie vilifying them, starring Jon Voight?
I could see it where like maybe they're not literally vilifying Israel, but like Israel is just the antagonist of this story, and I could see that being like, oh, we don't really want to release this now because like the Israeli government or like Israeli military or something along those lines is the antagonist of the story. So maybe they're just kind of holding off on that on top of the whole Bryan Singer thing, right? Because that's another kind of worms. Red Sonja came out this year, and he was originally supposed to direct that and was trying so hard to get it funded, and nobody in any of the Hollywood studios had picked that thing up with him attached. So what changed? We are not like this new forgiveness era where everyone who's getting canceled is now trying to be like, oh, I'm sorry, come back and let me make movies now. And sometimes they're not even saying sorry. Like, has Bryan Singer even admitted fault? I don't know if he has. He's appearing on other channels to talk about, movie news with them. Like nothing's going on. But we remember And it's going to be interesting how this thing ends up being talked about when it comes out.
And the irony of the lead actress of Revenge starring in Red Sonja that Bryan Singer was going to do. I mean, you can't get more ironic than that, man. I would like to see that at some point. I want to see how it is, what it became. But yeah, not really much to talk about there. I guess
I'm curious about it though, because we're seeing all these comeback narratives going. I wonder if there's going to be like a large swath of, or even like a studio pops up that's like, we're specializing in producing films by these canceled artists or something along those lines.
So let's move on to Clayface in production, the first DCU film. I mean, the second DCU film not directed by James Gunn after Supergirl is now in production. We're getting set photos. Everyone's arguing online. Is it Robert Pattinson? Is it new Batman? And not much to say. I'm looking forward to the movie. Ironically, we're just talking about the director of The Substance. This is going to be a very Substance-inspired movie. That's the whole idea behind the movie. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's good. I hope the guy that looks like David Bowie who's starring in the film is good.
I'm looking forward to it. They mentioned that it's going to be leaning into the horror side, the body horror, and that kind of stuff. I hope that they actually do that. And I am very curious how this feels. And Supergirl is coming up before it, but that feels very much hand in hand with Superman and what James Gunn's already set up. This to me will be truly like James Gunn won't be touching this thing. Like I'm sure he's going to be involved in it as a producer and stuff like that, but this is going to be something created apart from his world. Our first chance also to see DCU's Gotham, whatever that's going to turn out to be, whether it's Pattinson's Gotham or not, we will definitely know by the time we finish watching this movie. We'll see if it's his Gotham while we're watching it, right? Even if they don't confirm or deny it's Pattinson in the DCU, like we'll watch this movie and we'll know if it's his Gotham or not. It'll look like that or it won't look like that, right? The logos will match or they won't match. The history will match or it won't match.
I don't know. James Gunn said like he's made it clear that he doesn't care that much about Kenan. I could see a reality where they do end up backtracking after and just you just have to forgive it that things are different. But we'll see. I really, as much as I want Pattinson to be in it, I just give me a good Gotham that actually feels like the Burton movies. The best thing about those movies is the world. This feels like a Gotham like from the comic books. And I really hope we get something in that vein, something very comic booky.
I'm hoping that we do. I hope it doesn't just feel like the neighbor of Metropolis, right? Like we already know that Gotham is essentially like right next to Metropolis. It seems like in James Gunn's universe. So
just like it was in the DCU.
I'm hoping they can distinguish themselves. Even in the DCU, like Metropolis and Gotham don't look the same when you're in the streets of them. Like I'm curious how it'll look when you're in the streets of it in this movie.
I guess we can.
The biggest news of the whole week: Ice Age, Boiling Point, at Destination D23. If you were watching Alien Earth and you didn't have enough Ice Age in your life, and you were like, I just need a sixth, give me just a sixth Ice Age.
They should have announced this through the show. You had a great idea or a joke that the footage they showed in the show should have been footage from this movie.
Yeah, that would have been bizarre. I was only like half joking. It would have been very fun if you're watching that and you're like, it's Ice Age characters, but like what? This doesn't seem like this is not a scene from any Ice Age. And then the movie gets announced and you're like, oh, it's from the future. It's like Alien.
Via Jeff Snyder and I think Variety also broke this at the same time. Nicolas Cage is set to star in the new season of True Detective from Issa Lopez, set in New York City. Interesting that we're getting his first show ever is Spider-Man Noir, and his second show ever is not that far from that. So,
yeah, very similar. He must have liked it.
He really liked working in TV, and so he's like, I'll do another TV show. I need some money to buy more Superman collectibles.
Yeah, he was like, I played a fake detective, but I've never played a true detective.
This is gonna be a lot of fun.
I can't wait. Nick Cage is incredible, and I really think like Matthew McConaughey's mini revival kicked off really with True Detective, and he had like a few years of really doing some great stuff. And Nick Cage has been on the edge of like a genuine revival a lot. Like he had stuff like Pig come out that film fans saw it, but it didn't really resonate beyond that, right? And even Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, it was like, oh, this is going to be his big cultural moment. Didn't really happen. So I think this could finally be his chance to, like, everybody in the mainstream recognizes, oh, Nick Cage actually knows what he's doing. And, you know, the memes and the clips of him in the early 2000s, like, that's not who Nick Cage is. And this could be his chance to show that on the major big screen. Everybody watches True Detective. Even the last season was not well received critically. It was a great hit in ratings. So it was a huge comeback for the show and viewership. And I think that's a good sign that this next season is going to be better. You know, I didn't hate the last season. A lot of things that I thought were mixed in it, but I think with Nick Cage in the lead, and I think the confidence to hopefully be a little bit more independent in terms of the story will help it a lot. I don't know. That's going to be a big question.
I mean, it was either Jeff Snyder or John Roca that pitched this, but you know, what about John Travolta? Talk about someone who needs a comeback.
That would be incredible.
And I don't think he's someone who's gonna not do TV, because look at his career. I mean, you're really gonna say no to a TV show that's gonna pay you well?
Yeah, I'm curious who they go with and what the narrative is. Like, do they go for somebody else who needs a comeback, or do they go for, like, the last season went for somebody who wasn't even an actress, right? She was like a boxer or something like that. And I wonder what they'll do. They could do anything. Conor McGregor could be Nicolas Cage's partner.
Ke Huy Quan.
That would be a lot of fun.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
I can't wait. And I know people are kind of mixed about the fact that
New York City.
Yeah, New York City. That's the only thing I'm not sold on. Like, part of the appeal of True Detective is that it's set in like these odd locations, like Louisiana and that kind of stuff.
Close.
And this is just New York. You know, it was a similar thing I felt while watching the second season, where I was like, this is just LA. Not that exciting, you know, but Nick Cage gets me in. Nick Cage gets me in.
I guess I haven't seen the original show, so you can talk. I mean, this will be really quick. New casting for Scrubs. An actress from the original is coming back.
Yeah, Scrubs is once again attempting to revive itself. Last time they brought back a handful of the characters and had them be medical professors at a medical school, and you were following their students. So, like, occasionally you would have JD or something come in for a storyline, but really it was just about the new students. This seems like it's going to be the same setup of the original Scrubs, where they're at a hospital, but the only returning character, I can't actually remember the actress's name who plays the love interest. I haven't watched the show. Judy Reyes, who plays Carla, she's a love interest of the secondary main surgeon in Scrubs. I hope that more characters can come back, at least for a couple episodes, but it seems to me like if you're going to bring back Scrubs, you want to bring back the actual cast of Scrubs. Otherwise, it's just going to be some other medical comedy show, right? And I think the main appeal would be to get those actors back. And those two actors are not doing anything. You know, they're not busy actors. And they're always doing, like, AT&T commercials and, like, Sunday ticket commercials and stuff together. Like, they'll do anything together. So why are they not in the show together? I just don't understand the logic of not bringing them back.
Isn't it messed up that leading up to the release of Shazam, I thought Zachary Levi was the lead of Scrubs?
No, not Zachary Levi. We're spared of that. But Donald Faison and Zach Braff, how do you not get them back in the show together? They're not busy workers. Come on, you're being cheap, is what you are. You want to pay them to come back, so now you only get one. That we see you. Yeah. I'm not watching unless I hear that more people are going to be in this thing. I'm probably not watching.
Let's just do this first because this will literally be a minute or less. Marvel Zombies trailer came out.
Looks all right, I guess. You know, it looks like it's more along the lines of what I wanted What If to be, where they're actually spending some time in these universes, exploring what makes them different, telling a couple of stories in that universe, not just, you know, one little short story, actually being able to explore the characters in there a little bit more.
It's just maybe a bit too late for this.
Yeah, it feels like we're at the end of the multiverse saga. This should have been like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, no, nobody cares. And like, oh shit, Mahershala Ali's blade, it's literally his face. Oh, but then, oh, it's not him.
How embarrassing. Like,
that is so unbelievably terrible.
and the only reason he's not in it, only reason is because he didn't want to do it. He said no, they didn't want to pay him enough. Like, they asked him and it didn't work out, right? Like, they didn't just not think of him.
It's the right choice to not have this be his first appearance, though.
And if he's not going to be in this, like, is he ever going to show up?
Yeah, like, it's his face. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is just, I don't know. This is just unbelievable.
I'll watch it, though, and I'm happy to at least be filling in the multiverse a little bit. We talked about in Fantastic Four, like, finally we're seeing the multiverse. We're seeing something interesting done with it. So at least we're getting one TV show that's doing one interesting thing with the multiverse now that we're at the end of the multiverse saga.
Yeah. I guess we can move on to Dexter Original Sin, unfortunately, has been canceled. The same article also implies hints that they're putting a writer's room together for season 2 of Dexter Resurrection. So, continuing Dexter Resurrection, ending Dexter Original Sin. I feel bad for the actors. They were invited to the Dexter Resurrection premiere, and then their show was canceled. It might have already been canceled at that point, though. I don't... It's not the most upsetting thing in the world, but it is a little disappointing. I was really enjoying that show. I really enjoyed the actors. I hope they find a way to do a few flashbacks here and there and bring those actors back for a few scenes in. And if they ever want to do the thing again where they show him when he's younger, do a flashback, you don't have to have Michael C. Hall, 70-year-old Michael C. Hall with a wig on. You just get the guy from the Original Sin. Although it would be really fun and campy if they actually did that, like, intentionally. But yeah, I'm
bummed to see the show end because I haven't gotten around to Original Sin yet, but I do love Resurrection, and to me it's like sort of a mixed bag. Like, I'm sad to see Original Sin go because I was really looking forward to watching that in the off season of Resurrection, and I probably wasn't the only one who watched Resurrection and was going to watch Original Sin, so it feels a little bit like reactionary to pull the plug, especially when it was already renewed for a second season. But I feel like when you cancel something that's already been renewed, it shows to me that you have like a direction for this franchise. It just unfortunately is not part of anymore. It feels like a move of confidence. Like, they're not doing this out of, like, the show didn't do poorly. They're doing this because Resurrection did really, really well and better than they thought it was going to do. And it kind of gave them a new lease on life, right? If you have Michael C. Hall back to play Dexter, why are you making another show with a different actor playing Dexter? You have the quote unquote real Dexter back. It might have just seemed like a waste to go tell stories of Dexter's life and not have Michael C. Hall be the one telling the stories, right?
Why did you greenlight that show in the first place? Like,
I'm imagining they greenlit it when there was not a chance of Michael C. Hall becoming involved. Michael C. Hall signed on to that series as a voiceover actor, like, really, really, really late. It was written without him. It was shot without him.
That makes sense. When you watch that show, it feels like that could be the case.
So I think their thought might have just been, shit, we've got Michael C. Hall back. Like, let's just commit to this, right? Like, let's not do some other spinoff show. Michael C. Hall's back and he liked it and he wants to come back for more. Let's do it.
He liked it.
And it seemed like he liked it, right? Because it seems like that's what the direction is. Like, they love making Resurrection together. So now they're going to make another one. I hope the next one goes back to Miami. I've really liked seeing him in New York. It was a really fun change of pace, a really cool new location with new characters and new vibe and all this kind of new stuff that was very modernized. But I want that last shot, the last episode. Dexter's home, baby. Play me that theme. Give me that beachy sunrise. Put Dexter back in Miami.
Next week, you gotta do a review on the show.
I definitely will. I'll let you know how it goes because it was such a surprise. Dexter was in such a bad spot, and now it's like better than ever.
It's a crazy story though. You have a show that lasts however many seasons. People love it. The last few seasons don't love it so much. People don't like the ending, final season, like, at all. And then years later, they bring it back for one little mini series to redeem themselves. Turns out that was dog shit too. And then a few years later, they do a prequel, and then literally that same year as the prequel airs, they bring back another Dexter show that's trying to do make Dexter good again. But then that one actually works. I mean, name a more insane run of a TV show.
Yeah, that's like the little show that could, right? Like you could give up on this IP, but you just try it again and you try it again, and then eventually it worked, right? You got Michael C. Hall in the right spot in his career. You got the writers in the right spot in their careers, and yeah, I really hope season 2 is great for Resurrection.
Yeah.
I'm bummed for First Blood though, because it was already renewed, and it's such a bummer when you're like, I can't imagine being an actor.
Original Sin.
Original Sin. It's so many names, you know.
It's funny because Original Sin is literally the title of that Pretty Little Liars show that was canceled. So
and then they ended up rebranding Pretty Little Liars to being like Pretty Little Liars Summer School or something like that.
Yeah, the second season, I don't know what they're doing with changing the names and stuff, but yeah, so now 2 shows from the last few years with the name Original Sin have been canceled.
And yeah, I definitely hope we get to see those actors at some point back in the new Dexter season, because I've heard that kid is really good. I feel bad I didn't watch his show now that it got canceled, but I'm sure
really
my
good,
one viewer would not have changed.
The actress plays Deb is unbelievable. It's worth watching just for performance. And I forget his name, the guy who played the dad in Original Sin. Oh, Christian Slater. Yeah, Christian Slater was really good as the dad. Is it hard in the new show to buy? This guy is like really like a lot older now as like a ghost.
I mean, it should be, but Dexter is so unserious as a show that I like. It doesn't really matter to me.
The show's just so inherently goofy that it just you don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do we have anything left?
That's all I've got to talk about. I know you may have. We got like 20 minutes left. Do you have any like doomsday rumors? You want to talk about anything deeply cutting?
There's one rumor we can talk about. If people don't want to know, you can click off. But it is a rumor.
A rumor regarding Avengers Doomsday. So if you don't want to hear Avengers Doomsday rumors, it was great having you. We'll have you back next week. We'll be talking about other news, but we are going to talk about potential leaks from Avengers Doomsday. Around this movie, you never know what's real, what's not. There was a totally for sure happening casting reveal last week that totally for sure did not happen. So you never know what's happening with this movie. And
who knows if this rumor is true today, but not true in a month.
Mm-hmm. What do we got?
But yeah, Daniel RPK is saying that they, as of about a week ago, last week, they are currently filming a scene between Peggy Carter, Captain America, and Steve Rogers and Dr. Doom. So take away from that what you will. It is that the rumor has been that the basically what happens is Dr. Doom will come and probably make us say goodbye to Steve Carter, to Steve Rogers, right in front of his beloved Peggy Carter. I personally think that's a very interesting idea and way to.
Will he use a golf club when he does it?
Uses a golf club, and Chris Evans will call him handsome. Chris Evans will call him handsome and says, "You're actually handsome, not gonna lie." And then he picks up the golf club.
He's like, "I'm wearing a mask."
Like, how do you know that? He's like, "I have X-ray vision," and then he takes off his mask, and it's David Cornsweet.
I'm really curious if this rumor of that happens is true. Like, how do Marvel fans cope with like having to lose Captain America in such a brutal way, right?
Their happy ending taken away.
That's how you make people hate Doom, though, right? If your goal is you want them to hate Downey Jr.'s Doom, that's how you do it. Your introduction is he not only does he attack, Captain America, but he maybe kills him. I don't know if that's how far it goes, but I think something will happen between these two characters, and that will end up being sort of like a big rift in time, maybe. What if he goes back and he kills Captain America in 1960 or whatever? What happens to the Shield? What happens to Sam Wilson? What happens to Bucky Barnes? What happens to all these people whose lives
falls apart,
have been impacted? Yeah, the whole timeline crumbles.
That's a great, because in terms of theory, what better theory can come up with how they would really mess up the timeline, the multiverse? Like, you kill Captain America, you go back then. It would be fun. I don't know if they would do it because they decanonized it, but it would be. It's the multiverse. They could have a nod to in that timeline. Back with Peggy, they have a character or two from Agent Carter or something show up for a scene. Like they show her at her job, she gets home, and then Doctor Doom, maybe Captain America gets home, and Doctor Doom is sitting there with Peggy Carter. But yeah, we'll see what happens. This movie's gonna be. I mean, the speculation is gonna get even worse and worse. I mean,
I'm throwing out my speculation right now. I'm saying if we go back to the '60s and we're seeing Captain America, the big question from fans was like, "Oh, what was Cap doing in all those years? You know, was he just sitting around like letting 9/11 happen or whatever?" Like, I think we're gonna like see what was Captain America doing throughout these years, and it's a unique timing because if it is the '60s, that's a perfect like Marvel time to do a lot of throwbacks and have a lot of characters show up and have like Golden Age and early Silver Age characters pop in for some stuff.
And we know that they built that Luke Cage house, so could we be seeing like? I don't know. There's so many possibilities with like the heroes around. Like I'm just curious, who are the heroes in the '60s? You know, we'll see.
My prediction right now, I'm going to throw a name out there, see if it ends up popping up in Doomsday. My prediction is going to be one of the heroes we'll see working with Captain America in the '60s is going to be Jim Hammond, who was the original Human Torch prior to Johnny Storm coming into the canon, when the Human Torch was just kind of an android that set himself on fire, and he was called the Human Torch. He looked like the Human Torch. Had a totally different origin story, different characterization, all this kind of stuff. But he's been kind of like erased from Marvel history a little bit, but he pops up once in a while as the canon original Human Torch. So I think that could be very fun to see. And he did make an appearance in Iron Man 2 and during the Stark Expo when they're showing all these various like Stark tech things in the background. One of the things in the background is John Hammond's Human Torch. So there's precedent within the MCU for Hammond.
So Human Torch is in Captain America 1 and Iron Man 2.
Say that again?
So yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens. I thought you were gonna say Ant-Man himself, Hank Pym.
That would be a lot of fun. I would love to see Hank Pym. Hank Pym is so much fun. Are we gonna get Michael Douglas back? He said he's retired. I don't know if he's gonna come back.
CGI digitally de-aged. He said the only way he comes back is if they kill him in the next one.
He could come back. Robert Redford was like, "Oh, I'm retired. I don't act anymore." And he was like, "But Endgame, I'll come back for Avengers Endgame. That one I'll come back for."
Yeah, I remember he was like the old man in the gun. That's it. But then he actually had one more. But yeah, I think that's that's everything.
Yeah, it was a good first episode. We got a little out of our wits, but I think we managed to do it. Less than 2 hours. We covered quite a lot of movie news, so I had a really good time. Ari, did you have a good first episode?
Yeah, I can't wait to see more re-releases, and I'm really curious how Knives Out plays out. I'm really curious how Dwayne Johnson plays out. That to me is, in terms of award season, that's the biggest question.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and it's award season really kicked off because we're going to be doing our awards roundtable in the next few days on here. We're going to be going essentially movie by movie throughout all these big contenders, and it's talking about like what are their chances right now? What categories are they looking at? When we get to the Smashing Machine, I'm glad we're doing it now because the narrative has changed so much on so many of these movies in just the last few days. So if you want to hear us talk about awards, it'll be me and Michael and a few other people I'm sure will come on for that. That's one of our bigger cast shows. So come check that one out. But yeah, we're also going to be doing Here's the News again next week. We don't know what the news will be, but whatever breaks between then and now, we'll talk about it. If you liked it, let us know what you liked about it. Hit that like button. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on all these various news stories. But if you didn't like it, it doesn't matter what your name is.